so much value for what Guatemala has to offer for the movie and film industry and around the world, specifically Hollywood.
Different sets. You want colonial? Go to Antigua. You want some
white sand beaches, black sand beaches, volcanoes, mountains.
Lakes.
You could be on the lava beds of Pacaya. You could film it. You could be on Mars. You could be on Titan. You could be anywhere. Like, Guatemala is just so versatile.
Hola, bienvenidos a Alma Artesana. El día de hoy les saluda Pablo Perdomo y tengo un invitado de lujo, a Blake Thurgood, la mente maestra atrás de Thurgoodmedia y de Papi's Barbecue. Blake, welcome, man.
Thanks, dude. It's good to be here.
Man, you have a great vibe, Blake. Like, you I don't know if it's the astrology thing I've been into lately, but I don't think so. I think
no, it's definitely not that.
It's definitely not that. I think we're vibing at the same frequency.
Good. I like it. Yeah, no, energies, I think, based on like the beginning of the universe, we were all connected, and as we expand, we're connected somehow.
Oh, you're going back to the Big Bang?
I mean,
I think
it was a good show. I haven't seen it in forever.
Actually, yeah. And the Sheldon's girlfriend, I forgot her name right now, but she loves Antigua.
Really?
She has done like small videos about it. She talks in conferences about Antigua.
Really?
She loves Antigua.
Should probably hit her up.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think she would be glad to cooperate with us.
Yeah.
Not you, us. No, but yeah, she loves Antigua, so it's a nice success story.
We should call her. We should do like a little video chat real quick.
You
got her number?
No, unfortunately, not in this phone.
Not in this phone.
So thank you for coming all the way from Antigua to the city and making this happen.
Of course, yes, of course. No, thank you for having me. I'm it's a pleasure to be here, and I got to be honest with you. It's a little bit selfish why I'm here. I would really like to talk about what we're doing here in Guatemala and why we're changing the entire industry of media and film here in Guatemala. So if we can touch on that at some point.
Eventually we'll get there. No, of course we're going to get there. But let's start with, when did your relationship with Guatemala begin, man? Why Guatemala? I mean, of all the places...
Right.
I mean, I love my country, but I don't know.
Literally, I was on a trip around the world.
Okay.
And I was planning on spending a couple weeks, max, maybe a couple months if I really liked it, in different places around the world.
Right.
So before I left Austin, Texas, I had the whole map planned out. I had some rough dates, penciled in. And as soon as I landed here in Guatemala, I pretty much took that map and threw it away. I was like, I love this place. Huh. I absolutely love this place. I came in 2009, and I eventually left in 2011. I got into an MBA program back at my old university.
Right.
And before I was going to start school, I went ahead and did a quick trip around the world. And there was something, as I was going to different places around the world, something it just really made me want to come back here. And one very particular, very focused, very narrow thing that I could not stop thinking about. It was on my mind everywhere I went, and it was the people. The people here are fantastic. They're phenomenal. Compared to people around the world. You've traveled the world. You know.
Yeah.
The people here, they're creative.
They are.
They're friendly. They are happy. And the most important is when you see people, for example, in Bangkok, Thailand, right? They wake up in the morning and they go out, and their sole purpose in life is to figure out how to make money. That's what they do. Their whole life is surrounded by that. Here in Guatemala, it's somewhat similar, but instead of the word money, they look for success. They look for success. Now, there's two types of success that I feel like they look for. One is mental, and the other one is health. If they can be mentally successful and they can be physically successful, they feel like they're successful. So obviously there's breaks in any society. There's going to be some outliers. But specifically here in Guatemala, the majority of the people I've ever worked with, the majority of people I've ever been in presence of that have been, either entertaining or entertained, it's just phenomenal to hear their stories, the reasons why they do things, the purpose that they have in life, and it's unique. That's why I love it here.
The potential you're seeing, we need to see it ourselves. Why are we not seeing this if you as an outsider are seeing it? So this is part also of the objective and the purpose of this talk show, is to show everybody that we need to believe it, guys. We're really capable. We are great at it.
That's exactly right. And I feel like that's a new purpose I've taken on in life, is to help people believe that they can actually do anything that they want. This is a democracy. It's a free country. There's access to nearly everything that you need to be able to be successful in this country, mentally or health. And I feel like a lot of people just don't feel like they have the tools, or feel like they don't have the connections, or feel like they don't have the resources or the financial or the mentors or any of that. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to show, and maybe even today we can go over this in detail on how to break that. You can do anything you want. You can be anywhere you want. You can be in front of anybody you want, asking any question you want, and nobody's going to turn you down. It's a very simple process. It's a very easy thing to do. And me coming from Texas to Guatemala and being able to get in front of some amazing, incredible people here that have been super successful, to be able to rock like an industry, an entire industry. There's so much availability for innovating on industries here. Not only like existing industries, but new industries that are up and coming. For example, media. In the reality of media, it's an up and coming industry. It's just now starting into this new era of streaming platforms. This is a new industry.
Right.
You know, fintech. It's huge around the world. All you have to do is ride the wave in, and it doesn't matter where you end up. You're still on the shore. You know? And it's, I mean, it's
but
so much potential.
Before we go into it, what happened with Blake? I mean, there was a turning point. There was a catalyst. There was a catharsis before you started with this mindset. You're a mature young man. When does this happen? Was it back in the States? Was it your first time here? Because you're preaching what you believe. But when did you start? When did you started believing it?
Well, it has a lot to do with failing, and I failed big. I failed really big. I was in massive financial trouble. I felt like I was the hero of the world. I'll tell you the story. Right out of college, actually, even before I finished college, I wrote a manual that helped green builders build eco-friendly homes. Okay. And my first few clients were paying me lots of money. They were paying me $1,300 per house, and the largest project I did was 350 houses. Wow. And it was a consulting fee. So all I had to do was show up and tell them what was in my book and just walk away with a check. It was easy. It was easy money. So I took that money. I thought I was an entrepreneur, and I thought that I was doing great, you know, and I was on top of the world. And at the moment, I was.
When was this? Sorry.
This was in 2007.
Okay.
Then I put that all into a company. Not all of it, but I put a lot of it into a company that was doing green building. Specifically, very, very specifically, solar panel installation. The government was covering, we started our business in November, and by January, Obama got put in office. By February, we were literally handed a $250 million grant. And so we had all this free money, and it was with a very few providers in Austin, Texas, that could actually pick off of that grant. And I remember we went to a home and garden show. It was a 3-day show, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we showed up Friday. We had just talked to the attorneys the night before on what the qualifications for the program were, what we could actually advertise, what we could say.
Right.
And I remember we didn't even go to Saturday and Sunday, because on Friday we sold 300 solar installations. That day, we made over $12 million in one day. Just by offering free solar $1,000 deposit, the government was going to rebate us. So I felt super successful. I was young. I was 24 years old, ready for the world. I had all of this big line of projects to do, but I didn't know anything about business. I thought I did. I thought I just was like, I thought that's all you needed was to make sales, but that's so wrong. An entrepreneur is somebody who knows every single detail about every single aspect of what they're getting into. They're obsessed about everything that they do. I was the exact opposite. I was dumb. I was ego hungry. I was there's some really bad words I want to use right now about who I was back then.
Okay.
We were doing about $30 million a year. And I just, it hurts me to say this, but I ruined it. I was about $45 million in debt. I could not figure out how to turn that company profitable. It was impossible. My numbers weren't working out in the end, and I was deep in debt with these lines of credit. And I remember at one point, I was sitting with my girlfriend at the time. We were in front of a house on the lake. It was an $8 million house. This was about 12 months into this business. I just gotten the end of year results. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm rich. I didn't know accounting at the time, and there's actual and accrual accounting. I don't know if you guys know a lot about accounting, but I was looking at my accrual statements, which is what my billables were, and it showed the bottom line. It showed a massive profit. Actual was a different story. Actual, we were running heavy in the lines of credit and massive amounts of debt. I didn't look at the balance sheet. I didn't know how to read a balance sheet back then. And so I had all these accounts receivable from the government that hadn't paid and wouldn't pay for another 12 to 18 months. So I'm sitting there in front of this big, beautiful house, mansion on the lake in Austin, Texas, $8 million house. And I remember calling my accountant and saying, hey bud, the real estate agent here found the perfect house. Real estate agent says all I have to put down is $1.2 million. Let's liquidate some assets. Give me $1.2 million so I can put it enganche, so I can put the deposit on the house.
All right.
And my accountant goes, Blake, I'm so sorry. I don't know who you're talking to, but you don't have that kind of money. And I was like, what do you mean, man? You're my accountant. You're supposed to be able to find like money when I need it. Like that's isn't your job. He's like, no, Blake, you've got so many outstanding debts right now that I'm having to play cards over here, shuffling things around, trying to make sure that your providers don't sue you. And I'm like, how does this happen? How do you have a $30 million company and you have nothing to show for it? Right? And so I just had to get out. I lost all my hair. Like I was completely bald almost. I just had a little bit of hair over here and a little bit of hair in the back. When I grew back this white spot. Can you see my white spot? I grew back my white spot because of the stress that I was under. I was 24 years old. I was the youngest person in the whole company. Everybody was older than me, more experienced than me, and knew better than me. And I thought that I just knew everything because I had made a strategic move to get lucky on this the solar project. So talk about like a big failure, right? I luckily walked away with some cash because I sold the project to some competitors who luckily were able to buy the projects, and they were significantly more profitable than I was. And that's when I decided to go on a trip around the world and just be by myself.
Man, how hard. I mean, yeah, you felt like you were on top of the world from one day to another. You weren't.
Exactly. So you hit the top as well. It's easy to hit the bottom.
And how much purpose was there in this company? I mean, it was good financially. It was good financially, and you had a team and you had everything. But you saw yourself there helping. Like what the new pursuit you're on. Yeah, it's quite different. Like I see a lot of purpose on what you're doing now. You're talking about Thurgood. You're doing Thurgoodmedia and want to change the industry in Guatemala. Wow. And you're saying that you have this bold objective of hiring 1,000 people for 2023, and you love the country and you want to help people and you do mentorship. Man, I mean, yeah, you have matured, evolved emotionally a lot.
Well, I'll tell you, after hearing that story, one of the key takeaways is you really need to be doing something for a purpose, right? You have to have your why. You have to be doing something for a reason. Cars are not designed to buy gas and to truck gas around, right? You don't buy a car just to fill it up.
Right.
You buy a car for a purpose, to get you somewhere, right? You don't start a company to make money. The money isn't the reason to start a company. You start a company to make a difference, to make an impact, to do something better, right? So it has to have a purpose. My company in the States, I was just putting gas in it. There was no real reason to have it.
Well, it could be because you were also, I mean, it could be you were 24, right? I mean,
yeah, right. That's not an excuse. That's to be honest, that shouldn't be an excuse, right? Money does not build, no matter how old you are, you should never do things for money. Repeat that after me. I will not have a job for money.
I will not have it. Very good, Richie.
Yes. No, I mean, because you have to fulfill a purpose, right? If you're working at a bank, it's because and if you're a teller at a bank, it's because you love servicing people. If you're a waiter at a restaurant, it's because you love entertaining and you love to provide for people. And I can tell you, everybody in my company loves to do what they do. And they're very happy with what they do. And if they weren't happy with what they do, I will ask them to leave. I will say, I don't want you to be here. If you do not love what you do, don't be here. Go find something else that you love, and I'll even help you make connections, but I do not want you here if you do not love it.
Well, let me tell you, preacher Blake, I have sinned. I've worked for 12 years in the corporate world, and I always thought, okay, I mean, at the end, it's a job, it'll give me money. At the end, it's just a job. You know this phrase, it's just a job. But I was miserable. It was Monday morning, and I was, please, Friday night, come.
Great. Oh my gosh.
Imagine living like that, and I don't know what happened when maybe it was the pandemic or something. Well, maybe before. The time variable started to be so important in my life. Okay, so I'm working here, I'm doing this. Do I see myself 30 more years here? I started seeing it as a marriage. Like, do I want to be here? Do I want to be here for 30 more years? Okay, let's say I take care of myself. I'm 33. Let's say I take care of myself and I live until I'm 83, let's say. 40 more years of this. And then what? And then what?
Exactly. And then what? And then why?
And then why? And then why?
Right.
Because of a check?
No.
It was a mortgage. You're putting your life... It's a mortgage.
Yeah. Restaurants should be full of waiters that want to be waiters. Banks should be full of bankers or tellers that love what they do. And you can see those passionate people in the jobs that they like. And you see them. They're very rare, but you see them. Right? And I'm not saying that you should go quit your job. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that you should start looking into something that maybe you really have passion for. Or maybe even more importantly, take a look at the job that you currently have and try to figure out how you can love it. Love certain aspects about it. Right? For example, if you're working as a teller in a bank. Sorry, I just came from a bank, so I'm like thinking about banks.
Sorry.
So if you're working as a teller in a bank, or you're a corporate advisor in a bank, like... and you don't like your job, maybe it's just the people that you're around. Maybe it's just the lighting in your room. Maybe you got into that position because of all of your experience, of all the stuff that you loved in the past, put you into that interview to get that job, right? You went to school to be a banker, you did a practicante as a banker, and then, you wanted to be like the big banker. And then once you got there, you're not happy. Well, maybe it's something small. Maybe you actually do love being in a bank, but you just have to find yourself first, deep inside yourself, what puts you in that position. And that's the way that I look at every single decision that I've been making for the past 10 years or so, is what put me in those shoes? What put me in front of that person? What put me in that position to be able to make those decisions?
Right.
And then when I look at the past, I was like, oh, in those moments that I made those decisions to be there, I actually loved myself. So why am I not loving myself today? Well, let's take a couple steps back. Maybe because I'm just outside of my comfort zone. Just outside. Maybe I should go back a little bit, right? If you just it's actually very common in big corporate environments. Is senior managers are not comfortable being senior managers. They're comfortable being associate managers. And they were so good that their boss raised them up to a senior manager, but they're not comfortable there. True. They would be more comfortable just one step back. A little bit less responsibility, a little bit more free time on their end, and they're really comfortable right there. So maybe you should take a look at your current, position that you're currently in, and maybe you just need to take a step back, or maybe you just need a little bit more free time, or maybe you just need to figure out how to start looking forward to Mondays.
I've seen that in the corporate, in companies. You have a great salesman. God, this man talks to everybody, very likable person. He's selling a lot. Let's make him a manager now, up the ladder. And then he's miserable. this was what I loved. Now, I've said this a lot, and I said the word preacher, and I seem like what I'm going to tell you is a bit of a preaching thing, kind of thing. But it's a lot about living in this abundance mentality or scarcity mentality. You know, you're always thinking what you lack of, not what you have, and what's the possibility of having other things. You're thinking scarcity less, what you lack of again. And the other thing is that by nature, we're very negative, man. We never think about the positive scenario. It's like, okay, this and that will be wrong and bad. Right? So sad. We waste so much energy in being negative and time.
Yeah, I don't even know what it's like to be negative. I haven't been negative in so long.
That's a good answer.
Like, where do those emotions come from? Like, why would you put yourself in a position that you don't feel comfortable in? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there's always fear. There's always, being scared of approaching something that you haven't done before. But you have to understand, like, you put yourself in that position to do something greater, right? Or to just be content with the things that you want to continue doing because you love doing it, right? Take a step back. Think about a basketball player, right? Think about when they were like maybe 12 years old and they just, they got a hoop and a ball and they just started shooting.
Right.
And then they started getting really good at it because they like it, because they're practicing more. Anything that you practice more, you're going to be really good at, right? And if you like basketball, you're going to like shooting, you're going to like practicing, and then it's going to make you better, and then eventually you'll get paid for it. And the good guys get paid a lot for it. So the more you like it, the more you're going to shoot, the better you're going to be, the more likely you're going to be successful at it. So that drives where passion equals success, right? The more passionate you are and the more honed in you are and exactly specifically what you like to do and you keep doing that thing, you're going to be better at it, and people are going to pay you to keep doing what you love to do. Doesn't that make sense?
It does. I guess it goes... you do it, you practice it. I don't know if it was Malcolm Gladwell that they said that you have to practice something for 1,000 hours or something, and then you can start figuring out if that's your deal. And
10,000 hours.
10,000 hours.
Right.
And but then comes the question, how you're going to make money out of it. Well, a basketball player, your example was quite ambitious. I mean...
Very few people make lots and lots of money being basketball players, but that's where the ambition comes from.
And what about content production? What about creating this film industry? Talking about Thurgoodmedia. I'm not going to say what you need. You need courage and you need a pair of good eyes or ears, let's say.
Sure. Good one. Yes.
But it takes a lot of courage to go through these, follow that pursuit. How is it going? What are you thinking of?
Let's talk about a company culture. Now, give me a minute.
Okay.
This is important. When I left my solar company, I took a look back and I didn't miss anybody. I didn't care about anybody there enough that when I left, I was like, oh man, I'm going to miss that person. To be honest, the best relationship I had was with my secretary. She was the coolest. She was on top of everything and she controlled my life and she was fantastic. She would be the only person that I missed. But even when I left, I didn't really miss
I feel you.
anything. So when I came to Guatemala, my wife mentioned, my current wife, she was my girlfriend at the time. She's from Antigua.
Okay.
And she said, my father has a local. If you want to start a business, this would be a good time. When I was doing my MBA in Austin, my girlfriend at the time came to visit me a bunch, and she absolutely loved barbecue. So when we started looking at this local, she was like, how about you put a barbecue restaurant? This was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of thing. I didn't want to work. I didn't want the pressure. But if I was going to start a little bit of business, I was going to completely change my mindset from the previous business that I had that was a massive failure. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go into something and I'm not going to worry about money. I'm not going to worry about anything except pleasing a customer and pleasing the employees. Literally, the name is based on the culture that we created for the company at the beginning. Papi's Barbecue. The reason why it's called Papi's is because the business itself is the father of all of the employees. The business provides for the staff. The business makes sure the staff has security. The business does everything that a father, a responsible father would do for his family. And it was a company. Like, how do you create a company as a father figure? Well, for one thing, you start by calling it Papi's Barbecue. everybody in the business, we call hermanos. These hermanos are really strong-minded. They're very powerful people. They love what they do, and they will go out and they will achieve it. Every single employee that we have. I think we're over 68 employees in the barbecue restaurant. We got 3 restaurants plus a whole suministros area that distributes to the grocery stores, right?
Right.
And so the business was built as a purpose vehicle to please the employees, not to please the clients. And this is important, and I'm getting to the point about the media company.
No. Go ahead. I want to talk about what you're saying. Yeah.
Specifically, the company was specifically designed to please the employees. And once you have happy employees that are in positions that they like and love what they do, the clients will naturally be happy.
Yes.
The product will naturally be great. The service will be good. The value will be amazing. The quality will always be up to par. The consistency is so important. And all of that has to do with the initial principles that we designed for the company. 6 principles we have. 3 internal, 3 external. Principles. And I think I was gonna come back to you on the mission. You mentioned vision earlier.
Yeah, I mentioned
mission and vision. Excuse me. But mission and vision are not the way to start a company. You need to have purpose, and you need to have principles, and you need to have a value. Those are the 3 things that you need. A mission and vision are just ways to communicate to your staff why you want the company to be successful.
Yeah, at the time I was not thinking so much of the company. I was talking about the vision, about, I don't know, what you foresee.
Sure.
But yeah, and what you're saying, I'm sorry I interrupt you.
No worries.
I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek. Start with why, leaders eat last.
Yes.
And man, it's so true what you're saying. You have to build a family. You have to create this environment where you can talk to people, where answering an email you can go to the next room and talk, and what are you doing here? I'm answering your email. I'm talking to you because that's what we have to do.
Yes.
So yeah, sorry, keep on going. I think it's amazing what you did.
No, I mean, you're exactly right. Like, having that interpersonal connection with people is what this world revolves around. You know, I don't want to get into the whole topic of AI and computers taking over our jobs. We'll talk about that later. The real purpose, though, is humanity is a connection type society. Like, we build societies based on connecting one person to another in one form or another, right?
Right.
And those types of relationships build tribes, right? Malcolm Gladwell, or who's the other one? Anyway, Seth Godin. Right? Talks about how to create like a tribe of 1,000 people, and you've got a viral product for just 1,000 people. It's the same in a business, right? You can create your little narrow group of employees, your staff. You can have a good following of customers. But principles, purpose, and a why are so, right now in this society, you can literally build a company with any idea. There's always the example I give of Yeti, right? It's nearly $1 billion company, and they make cups that already existed. Cups was like one of the oldest products on the planet. These guys just made a new cup, and they made $1 billion valuation. Like, come on, guys. Like, you can literally make a business out of anything, but you have to have a purpose.
Well, how I see it, why is it so important, the purpose? Because it's, maybe Blake is behind it, and Blake started it, Poppies or Thurgood, but the purpose is bigger than Blake.
Oh, yeah.
The purpose...
No, the purpose is never me.
And the purpose needs to be digested and internalized by your team. Like, if they believe what you believe, if they eat what you eat, and if they see what you see, they're on the boat.
Yeah.
If they're not making it because of money, but because of they want to change something and they believe it, they're on your team, man. Not your team. They're on Thurgoodmedia's team. They're on Poppy's team.
Exactly.
It's so the why, call it the vision, the purpose, the why, but this key thing that is bigger than everybody. Alma Artesana, for example, is bigger than us. If I die, please, Alma Artesana, stay alive. Please, Alma Artesana, don't die if I die. I mean... So yes, I resonate with that.
Yeah. So that's where Thurgood came from.
Okay.
A purpose. A very clear, very defined, unified purpose. There was one reason why I needed to start Thurgoodmedia. And it has nothing to do with my experience in media. I have no real history in movies or cinema or anuncios. I have no history in that. And this is maybe a lesson to you guys too. If you can get into an industry with a clear purpose without actually knowing exactly what you're doing. And actually, many times, it's even better, and this is my personal experience, it's better to jump into a mature, saturated industry that you don't know anything about right off the bat, because once you get into it, you start learning the new innovations. You start learning the point from today.
Right.
You're not jaded with all of these things that have happened in the past, that are affecting your decision in the future. Today, I get to come into the media industry with a clear mind. I've been working in it now for 2.5 years. I came into it with a very clear mind, with a very empty mind, and so all of the information that I have is all based on 2-year-old data. Mm-hmm. So I get to start from today, and I get to excel the industry without being, confused by anything that happened to me in the past. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So the purpose, though, was a very clear, defined purpose. COVID hit, right?
Right.
And I saw my friends in the States were rich, were wealthy from a pandemic. They were making money from the government and clients and employees. They were making money any way, shape, or form the government could help support the economy to keep the economy going. So not one person that I know, and I'm not saying there aren't people out there, but not one person that I know was struggling. They were all very, very successful in the States. Oh. Reflect down here to Guatemala at the same time period, and businesses are closing. There's no government support, especially in the beginning. Towards the end, the government came in, and they're great, and we're very grateful for them for coming in. But in the beginning, there wasn't. A lot of businesses closed and will never reopened. Lots, thousands, tens of thousands of people lost their jobs within a few months. All right, clients stopped paying providers. Providers stopped paying suppliers. Suppliers stopped paying distributors, and this whole chain of events was really affecting the economy of Guatemala.
Right.
And so something had to be done. So I stood up and I go, you know what? I feel like I have a little bit of a responsibility to step in here, to make the connection between the United States and Guatemala, to help everybody that's doing well in the States drive money and funds to Guatemala to support new job growth down here. Because if these guys are succeeding up there, why can't we just service them with a product or a service and get some of that same benefit? And what's great about Guatemala, and this is with all respect, and I'm working on changing this as much as possible, but the median salary here is significantly lower in the States. We're all aware of this. We all know this. I'm not dogging anybody. It's a true fact of the cost of living here is significantly cheaper than the States.
It is.
And so the employees can receive less money than the States. And so the idea is that we can save people money in the United States and support the U.S. and support the Guatemalan economy at the same time. So I was looking around. I did my research. I literally stayed up. You guys, my wife, I was just pulling out my hair trying to find the exact right industry to get into, where we can have the most impact,
right? Where
we can support the most people.
Yeah, there had to be some brainstorming, because I was like, so from barbecue to media production, I thought you were I don't know, the logic step or the natural step. Okay, I'm gonna freeze some ribs and start exporting or something related to the restaurant, right?
And exactly, and that's a great thought process, right? So we'll go through the thought process. If I freeze ribs, right, and I ship them to the States, and somebody pays me $1 more per pound than they would here in Guatemala, right? I've got $1 profit to play with here in Guatemala.
Right.
That means maybe my providers could make more money. Maybe they'll have more volume, right? That means I have to hire a few more people to make sure that I manage that supply chain. Maybe I hire a logistics consultant. Maybe I hire a sales guy or two, right? But that's it. That's the extent of that idea.
Yeah, maybe. So it could. It's micro.
Even if you sell millions of pounds, it's slightly scalable. there's not that much impact that's going to result on the amount of effort that I take to export ribs to the United States.
Right.
But media, movies, think about a movie set for a second, right? Obviously, you have the actors, you have the producers, you have the directors. That's above the line costs. We don't touch that. We want all of the below the line costs. Below the line costs are like studio fee, right? So we have to build a studio. We have hair and makeup, right? You're talking about multiple people in the hair and makeup industry, right? That have nothing to do with film and media, but they're in the hair and makeup industry servicing the film and media industry. Mm-hmm. You've got construction. You have to build sets. You have to build houses inside of a studio that make it look real. You have art designers, set designers, artists. They have to paint every painting that goes on a wall inside of a house. Think about Friends. I always think about the Friends studio. Everybody knows about Friends, right? Think about making the Friends studio, all of the background stuff. The people that are on set, they have to eat 3 times a day. They have to be transported. They have to stay in a hotel when they're near the studio. All of these different industries that get inside of this one industry. If you've got one success in one company, all of these industries benefit.
And there's some countries doing it. But, you know, for example, Dominican Republic, it's called La Ley del Cine, the policies regarding films. They saw it. Estonia saw it. Many countries saw it. What you're seeing. Unfortunately, I don't know how it started, but there was a lot of support and promotion from the government to go this, to do it. I don't know if you're seeing that. You're seeing this type of examples. What you're saying is totally true. A lot of investment comes to having Dominican Republic Pinewood Studios.
Yes, great example. Great example, right? Colombia is a great example as well. Colombia's film industry exploded in the past 15 years. It's incredible to see how these industries kind of get born. And what's great is when we study these industries being made, it's the same formula. We just have to copy that formula. Mm-hmm. That's all I get to do all day is just read about these existing scenarios and just do it here. There's no difference. A studio is a studio. It can be the same anywhere in the world.
Right.
But why do they choose Guatemala? Right? And that's the value that I'm trying to create. That's the value statement. Because it's the people. The people here are incredible, and they can service this industry from the United States significantly better. No offense to Colombia, but I feel personally that we can do it better than Colombia can.
I think we can. Geographically, we're blessed also. We're in the middle of the Americas. Yes. We have great weather, great people, great capacity.
The list goes on. The list goes on. There's so much value for what Guatemala has to offer for the movie and film industry and around the world, specifically Hollywood. Different
sets. You want colonial? Go to Antigua. You want some...
white sand beaches, black sand beaches, volcanoes, mountains.
Lakes.
You could be on the lava beds of Pacaya. You could film it. You could be on Mars. You could be on Titan. You could be anywhere. Like, Guatemala is just so versatile.
It takes courage and discipline to do what you're doing. What inspires you, Blake? It's your family, the people. We talk a lot of Guatemalan people, and thank you for that. If we go to the core, let's touch the core.
Yes.
Like Iron Man, let's bring that. What inspires you?
Well, it started from my parents. I have very loving, very amazing parents. My mother and my father are incredible people, and I give them credit for everything that they've created, right? But one of the things that my mother and father both, but my mother really pushed in me was always doing things for other people. Like always trying to inspire other people, whether it's through a good example or whether it's through actually supporting them. And so I think both of those sides are something that I'm always thinking about. And then that whole value travels down to my kids. I've got 2 beautiful girls, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And my wife and I are trying to be the best parents we can be, but leaving a legacy is really, really important. And what I see is Guatemala today, no offense to what it was like in the past, but it's more beautiful today than I've seen it in the past 13 years. And literally, I'm a little secret, don't tell anybody, but like 3 years ago, I was literally considering leaving Guatemala and going back to live in Texas with my family. Now I wouldn't even think about it. Now this country is not only clean, the government's stable, the government's good. The government Antigua is fantastic. I've had a great relationship working with the government there, and they're pushing live orchestra concerts in the Central Park. If you went to Antigua this past weekend, you saw hundreds of vendors of artisanal crafts in the Central Park. They have food festivals constantly. The government is fantastic right now. And I absolutely love working next to them because we have the same image of what the future is going to be like. And I'm constantly thinking about that because I want my girls to live here. I want my girls to spend the rest of their life here in Guatemala. And I want them to feel comfortable and happy that we built an economy and a society that they feel really comfortable in, right? Better than anywhere in the world that they could live. Here's the place they want to live.
Beautiful. That legacy. I know you chose media because of the research you did. What about there's something that inspires me when it comes to media and video. The factor of, maybe it's a bit selfish what I'm going to say, the fact of transcending a format where you can transcend, you can immortalize this conversation we're immortalizing right now. I mean, I don't know who's going to see it in 20 years, but I hope somebody sees it.
Hi, future Blake. I hope you still have hair.
He will. Future Pablo. Yeah, I think I'm going to have hair. I don't know. I haven't been to the barber shop lately. Was there something mystique, philosophical when you chose movies, media? Something that's going to, it's not a temporary thing. It's something that's going to be there for a long time. I mean, it inspires me to know this conversation. Maybe someone's gonna see it in 20 years and is gonna be motivated to go and do something similar like you or like me or something else, but inspiring people in the future.
Well, hopefully I'm inspiring my kids to do something great, right?
Hopefully.
I mean, I'm working on an industry, and in the reality of it, it's entertainment industry. Entertainment industry doesn't have a direct impact on, saving the planet. But at the same time, maybe it does. Maybe if you take a step back and take a look at perspective, what we get to do is we get to tell stories. We get to tell stories with media. And stories is human, right?
Yeah.
When you play a video game, there's always a human story that goes alongside of it. And if there's not, it's not a very popular video game. So that story aspect about everything that you do and what we're trying to get to for our future, to actually be able to recreate humanity. We're at a very pinnacle moment in our lives where everything's going into technology. Within the next 15, 20 years, you'll be able to download your brain to a computer or, live in the metaverse. I mean, whatever direction you want to go, the stories that we tell will always inspire people's direction on which direction they're going to go, right? Just as your past inspires you to make your next step, just as I was talking earlier about being in your own shoes and making the decision in the moment, thinking about why you made that decision. It's a human nature to be able to make those decisions. Mm-hmm. So I've always believed that you vote one direction because of everything that you've learned in the past, because of the experiences that you had personally. Right. And it's the same thing about taking a decision on your human aspects in the near future, which we're going to have a lot of decisions to make over the next 15, 20 years. A lot of decisions to make, real human decisions. And so media for me is a way for us to be able to tell some interesting stories that bring that humanity back to human. Lord of the Rings is one of the most strongest human decisions, human factors. Watching every decision as Frodo takes as he goes through the story is so human. And that makes people in their mind think about, when they're in a similar situation, the decision that they're going to make too. Mm-hmm. So I think that media, especially in this podcast right now, or this talk show, we can inspire people to take a decision in the future because of what they're learning from this episode, right? And that's what we want. We want to inspire humanity.
The importance of the story, man. Story above gear. Story above special effects. Story. Yes. We are natural storytellers. Now, to do all of this, we need technology, like you were saying. Yes. But technology, I think we spoke about this on the phone. Technology can be a blessing and a curse. And more important, you talked about your kids and how to teach this responsible use of technology, how to create this conscious that, yes, technology exists, but also your life, man, also nature, also people, also handshakes, also eye-to-eye connection.
Yes.
It's sensitive realms you're walking through.
Right. I mean, if you want to get down to like a chemical level and a very metaphysical level, like literally your brain functions with three main functions, right? You have the back of your brain, your spine, which controls all your body functions. You have the top of your brain, which controls all your memories. And then we as humans have a very specific, unique part of the brain that most animals don't have, which allows us to excel significantly faster than animals can. Yeah, it's the frontal lobe here. And the frontal lobe is the communication aspect. It's a communication part of your brain waves. And everything that goes into there is for a communicative purpose, right? Which then lies into security, it lies into safety, and most importantly, and what I like to teach is it inspires humanity, right? The difference between humans and animals is we have this frontal lobe that allows us to make cumulative decisions together, group decisions, tribal decisions, that allow us to then excel into things that we want to do, right? And so having that communicative decision, it's not the same when you're in a Zoom call.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the same when you're watching this. If you guys want to meet me, right, hit me up. You can put my email address below.
Yeah,
email me directly.
We will put it there.
Definitely. And let's have a coffee, right? Let's chat, right? Let's handshake, as you said, right?
Yes.
And so in the company that we just created, we understand that technology is moving very quickly, right? We are creating one of the most innovative, state-of-the-art studio campuses in Guatemala. This place is going to be beautiful. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a massive campus. It's going to have all of the facilities for all these entrepreneurs out there to come work in the movie, media, and ad business.
Amazing.
On this campus. And so the innovative step is, well, let me tell you guys a quick story. The metaverse scares the living crap out of me. I am afraid. I have kids, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. By the time they're 14, 15, 16, right, the last thing I want them to do is have goggles slapped to their face. You know, imagine sitting at the dinner table right now or like, you know, messaging somebody and going back to eating. You got to tell your kid, oh, put the phone away, right? But in a few years from now, you're going to be like, can you take your goggles off? I really want to see your face at dinner. They're like, no, Mom, I'm busy.
I'm playing.
Right? Or the worst would be, no, I'm in school. Like, imagine that. Right? Like, the responsibility of like, they have to wear the goggles for education. Like, we need to break that. We need to make sure we don't go in that direction. Right? I want to see my baby's face. They're beautiful girls. Right?
Right.
They like, we want to go back to that human aspect. Okay. So, how do we utilize this technology of the metaverse, so building this out, for something better, for something good, right? So telling stories. We have created, and if we can put a link, I'll show you guys a link to a project we just did for Discovery Channel. Mm-hmm. It's using the exact same software as the metaverse. State-of-the-art Unreal Engine. Unreal 5 just came out, and it's beautiful. Take a look at this video, guys, and this is a video of Mount Everest in 3D. So Discovery Channel wanted this project because for Discovery Channel to actually go to Mount Everest to film a scene is ridiculous. Like $1.2 million was their budget for that. To actually go to Everest with the crew, putting them in danger, right? To climb Mount Everest just to make a little, like, I think it's a 35-minute episode. Or this new technology is allowing us to build a massive LED screen. 25 meters long by 5 meters high. We're going to put in one of our sound stages in Antigua. The actors can act in front. Real actors can act in front of this screen, and we project with the Unreal Engine this Mount Everest scene in the background. So the actors have their helmets on, they've got their goggles on, they've got their jackets on, they're climbing Mount Everest in Antigua, Guatemala. How cool is that?
Great.
So Discovery Channel gets the content, they get to tell the story that they want to tell. People get inspired by the story to actually go climb Mount Everest, which is the end result, right? But we get to record it and we get to shoot it for significantly less. We're talking about $45,000 is the shoot instead of $1.2 million. Imagine that difference, right? That's what we're putting right here in Guatemala. Every single producer in Hollywood right now is thinking about using this technology. That's going to be our anchor. That's why Guatemala is going to be important, because not only do we have some of the best VFX guys in the world working here in Guatemala because they're really creative and really good at it, but they're also going to be sitting right next to the screen that's going to be the only one in the world where the VFX guys are literally on site next to the screen. There's less than 100 screens in the world, and they're all being booked up by Hollywood. And we are the only one, the unique factor that Guatemala is going to have is we're going to have our VFX artists to change anything. You want to change the weather on Mount Everest? You want to change it? You want a storm, right? No. You want to be a sunny day? No problem. We got it. We are the only ones in the world that are going to be able to do that.
You want to be on the other side of the mountain? We got it.
So that's that unique aspect, right? That's that purpose of what we're trying to do. We're trying to be the only ones in the world in that innovative step. Right? Does that make sense?
It does. And you need a big team for this, Blake. How is that going? I know you have this ambitious goal of hiring 1,000 persons for the end of 2023. And how is that going?
It's going great. I mean, we've had contractors come in, lots of them. So we've had on set, Chris Kummerfeld is the director, and he's the one that actually brings all these people together. I think the last set we had just over 200 Guatemalans. And that's incredible. That's what we want. So we want to bring more of that in. Thurgoodmedia itself is growing. We're already at a good number, but every day we're hiring and hiring and hiring and growing and growing and growing because we're getting inspired to get new projects, right? Discovery Channel, we've got a project right now working with Richard Hansen, the guy that just discovered this new temple and this new thing in El Mirador. So we're actually creating an El Mirador scene in 3D. Right? And so he's going to be able to like film a series or whatever he wants with this kind of 3D structure. And imagine the impact that's going to have. It's going to look real. It's going to look completely real. You can't tell the difference. But instead of putting, goggles on somebody's face and letting them live in the metaverse, we're using it to tell stories.
I resonate with it. I do. And I also resonate with the metaverse of this that you're afraid of. This, you're a skeptic. Sometimes I feel that way, and the objective of them is to create this immersive experience. So of course, I mean, I don't know, it could be better than a Zoom call, but it's scary more than if you have kids. I don't have kids of my own, but thinking of what they're gonna live, how are they gonna live? And going back to what you're saying of your brain, yeah, this neocortex, you know what else the neocortex does? It gives you awareness that you're gonna die. So you're aware of your mortality.
Wow.
And when you're aware of this mortality,
yes,
I think that drives us. Yes. We have a short amount of time. Short amount of time. So we need to get on it. And I think that's a noble pursuit. I encourage you to keep on doing it, Blake. I'm amazed what you have done right now. And I want to ask you, Blake, who taught you this? Lessons also come from people, not only school. You mentioned your parents. What about mentors?
You gotta have a mentor. You have to. You have to go to somebody that you can get advice for. Whether it's in your personal life, your family life, you have to have a mentor. You have to have somebody to bounce ideas off of, right? I think one of the biggest, there's two big fears that surround a lot of entrepreneurs. The first one is FOMO, the fear of missing out, right? The fear that you need to be taking decisions, or you should be taking decisions, or all the successful people are taking decisions and you're not, right? That's a big FOMO, and that's a big deal. That's a serious problem. I've seen hundreds of entrepreneurs fail because they take on too many things because they feel like they need that and that and that and that and that. When a mentor, if you bounce those ideas off of a mentor, and a mentor, if he looks back at you and goes, how do you have time for that? Your answer better be, oh, you're right, I shouldn't do it. Because he sees something that you don't. They see something in you that you do not see, and it's the value of time. If you pick one thing and you be really good at one thing, I haven't managed the restaurants in 2 years. I go in them, and I usually am washing dishes or I'm waiting tables when I'm there for a few minutes. But I very rarely go into my restaurants. I've got amazing managers in there, and I don't mind going to events. But my time, 100%, my focus, 150%, besides my kids and my family, is in Thurgood. Is in Thurgoodmedia, Thurgood Studios. I've committed. I've burned the boats. I'm not going back. This is going to succeed. Nothing's going to get in my way. And definitely not time. Time will not be my biggest problem. So that being said, based on your point, mentors are somebody who get to see your outside in, right? They get to see you from a different perspective. And if they get to see that you're running around busy, and if you've just been that kind of person that's always busy, always getting into new projects, always doing new things, a mentor is somebody that may be like, hey, relax. Weren't you just last week telling me you were doing this? Mm-hmm. And now you're doing that? A mentor can tell you that. Look, the best way to find mentors is doing things that you love to do. Because they're going to be alongside of you.
True.
Right? If I love making movies, I'm going to go to events, and I'm going to go into expos, and I'm going to go to conferences, and I'm going to go to parties surrounding that specific industry. And I'm going to look for the most successful person in the room, and I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to say, just like you would dating, right? I'm going to say, hey, I'm Blake. I like what you do. You want to show me? Right?
Yeah.
And it's that simple. And then they're like, you know what? I've already been successful. You're not a competitor of mine. Come on in. Let me show you what to do. But be careful. Mentors can also give bad advice. If you don't have kids, but you can understand, you would never take advice from your buddy who doesn't have kids about kids, right? Your baby's crying all night long. You can't figure out what it is. Got a stuffy nose. You're not going to go talk to your neighbor, who's, playing golf all day. They're going to end up giving you bad advice. You have to go to people who are doing the things that you specifically want to do. And being an entrepreneur or being in a manager of a company, it doesn't necessarily need to be specifically industry specific. Like one of my best mentors right now, he was in strategy at Google, right? And he's incredible. He's an incredible guy. He gives me amazingly sound advice because he grew Google in billions of dollars in sales. And he did it not because he went out and found the customers. He did it strictly through strategy. So he's been incredible for me because that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to gain millions of dollars in sales, but not specifically going to the people, but by creating a strategy then that relates to the value that the people are attracted to. Make sense?
It does. It does.
And so he's not in the media industry. But he is fulfilling a need that I have, that I need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think the perfect connection is when, again, what you said, you love what you do, and you find another person that loves what they do. Mm-hmm. And you guys do the same thing, so that's why you resonate so good.
Yeah.
Mentors make so much sense.
Exactly. Don't ask your golf buddies, how to repair a car. Unless they've repaired a car before.
Because, a lot of people comment about the show. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever. But it has...
I doubt you get any bad reviews, man. You guys are great.
Thanks. But it has more weight if it comes from a person from the industry that's on the same boat. You're like, okay, it's bad. It's okay. Tell me why is it bad. Please, I want to hear it. Is it good? Why is it good? Because you're in the same boat. Exactly. The outsiders, maybe they're the public and the fans, and their opinion and suggestion always counts, but not in the same dimension if you want to improve or do something different because they're not on the same boat. I mean, they are the fans and we work for them. Yeah. But maybe you're in the industry or someone else has a different scope or a different eye.
Yeah. Exactly.
Blake, I saw in an interview that you mentioned the importance, not of vision, but of having a long-term plan.
Okay, yep.
Having a long-term plan. I resonate with that because Alma Artesana is never going to die. It's never going to die because we will do this and do this every week. And if we interview the whole Guatemala, we're going to go to El Salvador, to Mexico. We will not stop. And listen to everybody. I will not stop. The team will not stop. Yes. And that's the long-term vision. And if today a big bird crashes and kills the studio, we're gonna build a new one. And if the funding dies, we're gonna find someone that wants to fund it, or we're gonna fund it ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that type of drive, you have it in Thurgoodmedia.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's called burn the boats, right?
Burn the boats.
You're not going to give up because you literally just got rid of the boat, so there's no way back.
Yeah.
Right? You can't leave the island. You got to build it. You got to build it. You got to
yeah, there's no way back.
There's no way back.
You have to burn the boats. Blake, I think it has been an amazing interview. I've enjoyed it very much.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to mention something to your fans or something to close the interview, or you're more than set. How do you feel?
Well, I'll tell you what. If anybody needs advice, support, a mentor, I don't know if I'm the best person, but I'd be more than happy to hear you out. I'm going to put my email address here. Maybe even in the comments, I'll add the email address. And I'd be more than happy, to do what I can. If I don't respond to you right away, I'm sorry. It's literally because I'm getting tens of emails a day that it take lots of time to respond to. But it's very important that people understand how to break free of this kind of captured mentality that they feel that they're in. If you're in a job that you don't like, if you're in a relationship that you don't like, if you feel trapped in any way, if you are not looking forward to Mondays, right? Please hit me up. I'm more than happy to kind of talk you through it, and more than happy to get you into that mindset, right? The mindset doesn't change based on your surroundings. Sometimes it does. The mindset changes based on where you put yourself.
Right.
Right? Where you have positioned yourself. So the surroundings are a byproduct of where you put yourself. But the initial impact needs to come from where you put yourself, right? Where you position yourself. If you're in a job that you don't like, you interviewed for that job, right? You put yourself there. And why did you do it? We can talk about that. So I really want to break people free of that, right? I really want people to enjoy what they do. We've got a lot of openings at Thurgoodmedia. We've got a lot of potential to grow over the next couple of years. We're literally building an entire industry. We're building an entrepreneur department of our company to help entrepreneurs service the film industry. Right? And we're going to need hundreds, thousands of providers that each have multiple employees inside of them. Right? And so we have a lot of work to do, and I'd be more than happy to talk you into maybe even how you can get in our industry if you've got passion for it.
Definitely. Thank you. And we're going to take that offer. We're going to pick your brain whenever you let us, and thank you. It's a great message, great energy. Thank you, everybody who was tuning in. I appreciate. This was Alma Artesana. You can check us in all our social media, all the podcast platforms. You're gonna be able to watch the entire episode on YouTube. And guys, hit Blake. Thanks, this guy's the bomb. So thank you very much. This is Alma Artesana. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Blake.